Have you ever seen a tiny spider crawling across your wall and thought, nope? Now imagine that same spider, except it's the size of a Labrador. Would you still try to catch it with a cup? Probably not. You'd probably move to another country. As crazy as it sounds, today we're going to imagine a world where every spider is as big as a dog. How would people survive? Would cities still exist? Could we even leave our houses? And believe it or not, giant spiders might not be the biggest problem. Let's find out. First, let's talk about one very important thing. Real spiders are actually amazing creatures. Most spiders are harmless to humans, and they spend their entire lives eating insects that would otherwise annoy us every single day. Without spiders, we'd have way more flies, mosquitoes, moths, and other pests. So in our normal world, spiders are actually helping us. But today, we're changing one tiny detail. Instead of being small, they're all the size of dogs. At first, this sounds like something straight out of a horror movie. But before everyone starts screaming, there's something interesting we need to understand. Animals don't just get bigger without consequences. A tiny spider can climb almost any surface because it weighs very little. Make that spider 100 times bigger, and suddenly physics starts causing problems. Its legs would have to support an enormous amount of weight. Its muscles would need to be much stronger. Its lungs, or in the spider's case, its breathing system, would need to work differently. Many scientists believe spiders couldn't naturally grow this large because their bodies simply aren't designed for it. But today, we're ignoring those limits. In our imaginary world, giant spiders are perfectly healthy. And that's where things become really interesting. Imagine waking up on a Monday morning. You open your bedroom door, and sitting quietly in the hallway is a spider the size of a golden retriever. It isn't attacking. It's just watching. Would you go to school? Probably not. Would your parents go to work? Definitely not. The entire neighborhood would instantly become much more careful. People would stop walking outside at night. Children wouldn't play in parks. Camping? Forget about it. Hiking through the woods? Absolutely not. Every bush could hide a giant spider. Now let's think about spider webs. Today's spider webs are surprisingly strong. In fact, pound for pound, spider silk is stronger than steel. Now imagine silk produced by a dog-sized spider. The strands could be as thick as ropes. A single web stretched between two trees could stop a bicycle. Some could even trap small cars. Road crews would spend every morning cutting giant webs away from highways. Firefighters would probably carry giant web cutting tools. Window cleaners would have an entirely new problem. And abandoned buildings? They'd become giant spider apartment complexes. Nobody would want to go inside. What about cities? Well, cities might actually become safer than forests. Why? Because spiders usually prefer places with food. Parks, rivers, forests, farms, gardens. Anywhere insects are everywhere. The countryside would become much more dangerous than downtown. Vacations would completely change. Forget cabins in the woods. Forget sleeping in tents. Hotels inside large cities would suddenly become the safest vacation spots. Now let's talk about food. A spider this big couldn't survive on tiny flies. It would need much larger meals. That means rabbits, birds, foxes, maybe even deer. Some larger spider species could become top predators in certain environments. Nature would completely reorganize itself. Animals that currently fear wolves or bears might now fear giant spiders even more. Bird populations could change. Small mammals would disappear from many areas. Entire ecosystems would look different. And farmers? They would have an enormous challenge. Imagine finding giant webs stretched across your crops every morning. Or seeing dog-sized spiders hunting around your barns. Livestock would need stronger fences. Barns would need reinforced roofs. Farm workers might carry protective equipment every day. Now here's something people often forget. Not all spiders make webs. Some hunt. Imagine a jumping spider. The size of a dog. Real jumping spiders can leap several times their own body length. Now imagine one jumping 20 or 30 feet in a single jump. Suddenly, fences wouldn't matter anymore. Neither would walls. That's terrifying. But there's also something surprisingly funny. Imagine giant spiders trying to hide. Real spiders love hiding behind furniture, under rocks, or inside tiny cracks. A dog-sized spider would try doing the same thing. Picture a giant spider attempting to squeeze under your couch while half its legs stick out. Not exactly stealthy. Let's talk about pets. Dogs would probably bark constantly. Cats. Cats are brave. Until they realize the spider is bigger than they are. Many pets would learn to avoid wooded areas completely. Some large dog breeds might even become famous for protecting families from spiders. People might start breeding special spider dogs. Imagine walking down the street with a massive guard dog whose only job is chasing giant spiders away from your yard. Now let's think about transportation. Would driving still be safe? Mostly. Unless a giant spider decided your windshield looked like a good place to build a web overnight. Or imagine driving through a forest road, and suddenly a web stretches across the highway like a giant fishing net. Your car stops instantly. Not because of traffic, because of spider silk. Road maintenance would become one of the most important jobs in the world. Entire teams would patrol highways removing webs every single day. Air travel might have problems too. Large spiders climbing airport buildings, building webs near runways. Even helicopters flying close to forests would need to be careful. Scientists would become obsessed with studying spider silk. Today's spider silk is already one of the strongest natural materials ever discovered. Giant spiders would produce enormous amounts of it. Engineers would probably collect silk and use it to make ropes, body armor, climbing equipment, bridges, and maybe even spacecraft materials. Ironically, the same creatures terrifying everyone might also revolutionize technology. That's happened before. Nature often inspires incredible inventions. Now let's discuss venom. This is where things get scary. Many spiders are harmless, but some species are venomous. If venomous spiders became dog-sized, their venom glands would also become much larger. One bite could contain enough venom to seriously threaten large animals. Hospitals would need giant anti-venom supplies. Emergency helicopters would respond to spider attacks. Schools would teach spider safety just like we teach fire drills today. Children would learn things like, never walk into tall grass alone. Always check under outdoor furniture. Never touch giant webs. Always carry emergency communication devices. Spider awareness would become part of everyday life. But here's another surprise. Humans are incredibly adaptable. We always find ways to survive. Cities would probably install giant lights that spiders dislike. Homes would have reinforced doors. Parks might include elevated walkways with protective netting. People could invent spider-detecting drones. Maybe even robots designed specifically to remove webs safely. Entire new industries would appear. Spider control services. Web removal specialists. Silk harvest companies. Protective clothing manufacturers. Adventure tourism would even change. Instead of going on safari to see lions, people would pay money to safely observe giant spiders from armored vehicles. Nature documentaries would become absolutely incredible. Now imagine sports. Could you still play soccer? Sure, as long as there aren't any spiders nearby. Golf courses? Probably terrible places to visit. Too many open fields. Mountain biking? Only on protected trails. Running marathons through forests? Not happening. Outdoor life would become much more organized. People would carefully map spider territories using satellites and drones. Apps on your phone might even warn you. Warning, giant spider activity detected 800 feet ahead. Technology would become your best friend. Now here's the biggest question. Would humans still be the dominant species? Probably yes. Why? Because humans don't dominate Earth because we're the strongest. We're definitely not. We're slower than horses. Weaker than gorillas. We don't have claws. We don't have venom. We can't fly. What makes humans different is teamwork. We build shelters. We invent tools. We communicate. We solve problems together. Even if giant spiders appeared tomorrow, people around the world would immediately start designing better buildings, better vehicles, better equipment, and better ways to stay safe. It would be difficult. It would be scary. But history shows humans are incredibly good at adapting. Eventually, giant spiders might become just another part of everyday life. Kids would grow up learning how to avoid them. Scientists would understand their behavior. Cities would be redesigned. Life would continue, just with a lot more screaming. So, would a world with dog-sized spiders be terrifying? Absolutely. Would forests become much scarier? Without a doubt. Would giant webs completely change transportation, farming, and outdoor life? Definitely. But humans would probably survive. After all, we've survived ice ages, volcanoes, pandemics, and countless other challenges. One thing is certain, though. If spiders were the size of dogs, nobody would ever ignore a spider in the corner ever again. And honestly, that little spider on your bedroom wall suddenly doesn't seem so scary anymore. Maybe it's better if spiders stay exactly the size they are.